Davison, urban explorer. Used to go by the name of Brother I Am Bro. If these walls could talk, or this area could talk, they talk about all the bloodshed and death.
And you know, this is really distinctly Cleveland. You know, right outside the city, this is all still manufacturing.
Hello, I'm Andrew Markelonis. I'll show you inside of Cleveland whiskey. In Cleveland whiskey, we make a bourbon whiskey. Now, most whiskeys have a few basic ingredients. We have malted barley, we have corn, rye, and wheat. Now, to be a bourbon, you have to be at least 51% corn. And all bourbons are at least 51% corn. Also, to be a bourbon, you have to be aged in a new oak barrel. Now, why a new oak barrel? Probably the forestry industry had a lot of lobbying going on and wanted to sell a lot of trees. So, every bourbon has to be aged in a brand new oak barrel. You can see here that we have some of the young bourbon in brand new oak barrels. Now our founder, Tom Licks, he's the one who started this. He got his experience in distilling from the Navy. He used to purify water on destroyers. He was on a decommissioned destroyer, and he would, on the side of the destroyer, make moonshine illicitly on a still tapped into all the workings and plumbings of the ship. And that's how he got started in the booze industry. So, I'll show you a little bit of what's going on. Now, here, just like any regular place, any distillery, we have a master fund. And what we do here is we make pretty much what amounts to corn soup. You get the corn, you add water, the other distillery, what you would do is you would take your unaged whiskey and you put it in a barrel. And that barrel would sit for 6 years, 8 years, 12 years. And it would sit in a warehouse. And as the warehouse and the barrels heated up, cooled down slightly, it would make a pressure difference in the barrel. And that pressure difference would push the whiskey in and out of the wood of the barrel. But what we do is a little different. Instead of waiting years, we can have our stuff made in less than a week. What we do is we put it in a pressure-capable stainless steel tank, and we apply pressure. We put wood inside the tank, chopped up brand new oak barrels, and the pressure squeezes that wood like a sponge, and it forces the whiskey in and out of the barrel. And instead of waiting years, you wait days, and you have a nice bourbon. And that's what we have over here. It's one of our new systems, our new tanks. It's not hooked up. We're not running right now. It's the weekend. This is one of our new tanks. As you can see over here, we have storage. Lots of barrels, holding lots of whiskey, which will be put in the bottles for you, the loving, adoring public, to drink. Here's some Cleveland whiskey right here. As you can see, it's darker than a traditional whiskey, even though it's only less than a week that it takes us to make this. It's darker than a whiskey that sits in a barrel for typically 6 or 8 years. And it's got a wonderful aroma and a wonderful taste. And over here is our labeling and bottling, which is soon to be upscaled and more automatic. And that's all. So thank you for visiting Cleveland Whiskey, and I'll be spending the rest of the weekend with you and having fun and adventure. So I was going down Carnegie on my bicycle, and by East 9th, and there was a traffic officer directing traffic, and a car decided to cross over 2 lanes and try to turn, which would have run me over on my bicycle. So this police officer jumps 2 lanes, standing there, jumps 2 lanes and jumps right in front of this car, and I swear the car hit him in the shin. And he was just pissed off, blowing his whistle, telling the car to stop, and saved me from getting run over and killed by this.
It doesn't sound stereotypical story of a big city cop.
No.
You know,
no,
maybe
yeah.
tired of heavy traffic.
Right, yeah, but yeah, so I sent the police department an email thanking them for
You
saving
did?
my life. Oh yeah.
Oh, good. Did you get his name or no?
No. I didn't even get a chance to say thank you. Like right as it happened, I was like stunned. So, but yeah, that was fun.
That's amazing, riding your bicycle to work. Is that Detroit that you drive down?
I used to go down Detroit. Now I go down Carnegie. It's a little quicker.
What's this here? It looks like
New Cleveland State Housing. I don't think it's actually owned by Cleveland State, but it's still, I think, with the idea that it would be mostly students.
oh, so it's not.
Private developer. Move here, scrap my truck.
Get more money for this crap.
That truck only needs like $2 grand in work. I mean,
Is that all?
that's it.
It looks nice. It reminds me of something they do in Charlotte. They're doing new construction with the old flare. Is that part of an old building too?
No, it's all brand new.
That's brand new right there?
Yes, it is.
Oh. Huh. That's cool. Where are we going?
We're going with one.
Yeah.
It's been a long day getting to Cleveland, walking around Cleveland. Thanks to Andy for giving us a tour. Cleveland whiskey, the Tour de Cleveland whiskey. So, good evening and cheers to Detroit tomorrow. Cheers.
Time to go to Detroit.
When it opens, I think there's a fairly good turnout on opening. I mean, it is a college, this is a university, so it's a university gallery. So you get the university that does support it and comes to the openings. And there's Michael Boswell, who is doing the work at the end there. He works, well, first of all, he's a graduate of Cranbrook, which is a fairly influential art school, not just north of here in Bloomfield Hills or someplace. But he works for whoever, Nickelodeon, I think now.
Oh wow.
On SpongeBob SquarePants. So he's doing that. And then these are Patrick Hill's sculptures. And he has a connection to Detroit. He shows at Heidelberg Gallery, which is also in one of the suburbs north of Detroit. And then the big piece downstairs. That goes around the wall is third person Elliot Earls, who teaches design at Cranbrook, which is north of Detroit. I guess it was last year when they started talking about printing the $1 trillion coin in the news to take care of the debt in the United States, that it dawned on me that the center part should be about the $1 trillion coin. But it's essentially about our system of money and finance. So you've got Federal Reserve Bank and money symbols, the wheat from the wheat penny, and paper tigers. It's really fairly simple. It's just the combination of the imagery that gives it not only a visual meaning, but the viewer should then be able to kind of piece it together and go, this is about our system of finance, and it's not working quite so well. Vinyl, 3 mil vinyl. It's the same stuff that people put on their cars for striping.
So you're using a machine that people use to do lettering for industrial vehicles, except you're applying it to.
Exactly, to the gallery wall. So when it's all over, the pieces will just come off the wall. They just get picked off the wall and thrown away. Or usually some of the preparators, the people that put the show up and take it down, I'll end up seeing parts on people's cars
That's
driving
neat.
around Detroit, and they'll stay there for years. But Yeah, the only actual permanent pieces are the two paintings. So this show is going to travel to DePaul University outside of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to recreate all the vinyl a second time, probably on a smaller scale.
Does it? Do you have it already in your computer? Then at least you can pull from the memory.
It's my
Oh.
computer, so but it all has to be cut and weeded. Weeded means anything. For example, when I cut a sheet of green, anything that's not green has to be picked out and thrown away.
So
Put it on the wall.
yeah.
It's called weeding, and so all of that has to be done before you can go and install it. It's a lot of work. But what you probably, if you don't notice at first,
See, there's a
There's a
4-foot square
painting
painting in front of that.
on the wall that has this stuff, and the painting that has an illusion of another painting.
Plus, there's a little one over there.
Yeah.
I do see that now.
And these are all individual pieces of stuff stuck in that wall. There's thousands and thousands of pieces stuck in that wall.
And it's called fiscal forecasting. So it's making a comment about the stock market, and it's kind of like fortune telling or other things that tell the future, like canaries in a coal mine and deformed frogs.
Disappearance
and,
of the frogs all over.
You know, frogs, their deformities that give us a hint as to what's going on with the environment. And where you can go to a palm reader, crystal ball gazing, is the same as the stock market.
How long does something like this take to put together?
Well, like I said,
Physically, not just mentally.
well, physically, Will and I together installed it. It took every bit of 7 days constant work, and I had it all ready to install. So, and then there was like a month before that where I was cutting and weeding and getting the preparations ready. I really needed another week.
The install was $100 plus.
Yeah. So yeah, it was really
Wow.
time consuming, but I'm really pleased with it.
I think it looks very nice. What I saw when I saw your art was a lot of things I recognized, and then I realized there was probably a lot of things that I wasn't recognizing.
But I think that's what I'm trying to do is I want the viewer to find the patterns and stuff appealing enough to stand there and think about stuff and try and, through their own experience, put it together for themselves. Like I'm not trying to prescribe what you should get out of it. You're going to come to it and kind of read your own interpretation into it as well. And I think that's good. But I give you clues. You should be able to fairly easily figure out what I think. But hopefully you're able to add your own perspective. And I make comments about art and painting as well as politics. I mean, the issue of the relationship of a painting to the wall. Those are kind of esoteric things that I like to play with. And you'll run into the Heidelberg.
That's worth really doing. That would be the reason to go out now. And then you could decide if it's worth getting out in front of you. People live there. Another guy lives across the street. He's not part of it, but he keeps, he must be on the same boat. He makes his own weird stuff. You drive around the block, there's weird
good. It
stuff.
inspires
It's just
In the foundation now, I had students that were interested in community arts activism that would go there and they would make, there's empty space, so they make
big brick sundial.
bricks, sundials, and glass sculptures, and it's land, and so people make art on it.
But it's, you know, they even had one of these where well, one of the houses, I think they did it recently. It's just, they nailed like 33 RPM records on the whole building. It freaked me out.
Really a trip. It is a trip.
And then there's others where they just paint, oh, this is a police car, as it says taxi.
There's no boards, no fences. If you come this way, I'll show you. So we made it here to the Packard factory, and we're gonna walk around, get some video, and show you what it looks like.
this was a car.
Hello everyone, this is Davison, Urban Explorer. Used to go by the name of Brother I Am Broke. The target destination is the high rises of the Brewster Projects. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go east through this overgrowth here. And you know, one of the things I think about is I remember when the little children used to be out here playing and everything, when it was a lot more tranquil before they closed it down. But then there's a lot of stories that can be told out here, with the good times, the bad times, the working class people that worked here or lived here, also those that were on public assistance. Had a lot of homeless people that stayed out here, but the most unique story is a lot of the talent that came out of the Brewster Projects. Like Diana Ross and the Supremes, Lily Tomlin, the comedian. She was raised in the Brewster Projects for a brief moment. And a number of other people.
That's amazing.
And they just built all these back like in, I think, the early 90s or the late 80s. And we see where, you know, you've had scrappers come through here. You've had homeless people still living in these as of recently, within the last couple of years. And the city used to cut the grass and everything like twice, sometimes 3 times a year. But with the budgetary problems that the city's had, they're not gonna cut this.
You know, this is the very first time I've ever been here.
Yeah.
In my whole 45 years.
Well, you know, when my family first moved here from Memphis, Tennessee, back in the early 70s, they was kind of leading my family here to the public, to the public projects, to the public housing. And my mother, growing up down south, she always believed that she was raised to believe that, there's nothing like home ownership. And if these walls could talk, or this area could talk, it'd talk about all the bloodshed and death. This is Brother Davison over here in the Brewster Project.
I almost don't even know what to say. This is grander than it looks on video.
Hey Pat, what you think?
Oh man, it's just economical. I'm looking at some of the artwork on the other side of the building. I was looking at the artwork and I just get flabbergasted. A person would actually come out and take the time out to make something that detailed. That's artwork. That doesn't belong in a place of disarray to me. And this for instance, when was this done? Dude, that was done last year. He would actually come to a place like this and do something that detailed. Now to him it might be a real fast job, but to me it would take me a month to do something. I couldn't even draw that on paper. I guess it's getting practice in.
Which building y'all want to go into?
It doesn't matter to me. Which one would you prefer? Do you have a favorite or?
These right here I've never really been into. I've been into the little store one. Okay, well, I guess I'll step on up. Get my camera prepared. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go on up. Take a look around. You like that?
And the marble work, even though these were made years ago, this marble work is still really, really good. It's a nice, decent sized apartment.
It is.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, to be a project, you wouldn't think it would be this big. And it's a very solid structure. I mean, it could easily be rebuilt. The whole building could be redone, but because the structure is solid. I think so.
I'm surprised that it's so solid with the windows out. That seems like a death sentence.
My background is in mechanical engineering and architectural. I've seen buildings in way, way worse condition. And where we have beautiful artwork. You think the only thing that they would be ready for is a wrecking ball. But in Detroit, you would not believe it. That's what helped me to get into this. You would not believe that structure it just had no roof. You could see clean through it. It had fire damage, water damage. It had vandalism, and they turned it into a work of art.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. Actually, right where we parked, right around the corner, it's just amazing.
Oh,
amazing, amazing. So this structure is not, it looks really bad, but the structure is solid. It's crazy. Yeah, these rooms are pretty big.
Yeah, they are. So this going through all the way over here would be the same apartment?
You know what?
Or maybe a neighboring apartment.
Yes, it would, because there's no dividing walls, so this would be...
That's plenty big.
Yeah.
For anybody.
See, I'm ready to go to another store? All these clothes, these shoes, this couch, 9 times out of 10, it was a homeless person staying up here or a drug addict. And a lot of times prostitutes will bring their johns and their tricks up here to do what they do. Make that transaction of money, drugs, for sex. And if these couches could talk,
I wouldn't want to hear what they had to say.
or if you get a DNA sample.
Is that graffiti covered, or is that graffiti to send a message? That white paint.
I'm not sure. I think that's some artist making a statement.
So did they drag this couch up, or you think this was left behind when the place was...
Left behind.
Left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, pardon.
That would be crazy if they brought this up.
That's what I was thinking.
That would be called desperation.
Got an old stereo right here.
And it's already desperation with you up here.
True.
That's the Brewster-Douglas Center right there.
I heard about it.
Yeah, you had that one building on the left-hand side. They used to have talent shows. They had Halloween parties. In the summertime, they would have all the tenants would come out, and they would have like a festival out here, just have fun. You know, mainly for the young folks and the little children. They used to have the PAL Athletic League out here. You know, Police Athletic League.
I see some bleachers right over there.
Mm-hmm. Joe Louis trained here, Sugar Ray Robinson, quite a few other boxers, Detroit area boxers trained here.
It's definitely not a place that you would be ashamed of. Way back then, 20, 30 years ago, or 40 years ago, it was a place that you were proud of, but you couldn't tell that now.
You know, what really brought the projects down, because it used to be a family environment, what brought it down was after the '67 riots. The influx of drugs.
Yes.
They had a thing what they call penny caps. Penny caps was basically little caps of drugs, heroin. And them penny caps destroyed a lot of lives, because back during that time you had like a lot of teenagers and they started experimenting with that. Now they're in their 60s. And a lot of them have told me the story of how they was in high school and then the penny caps had flooded the street, the east side, the west side.
They just showed up, huh?
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people watch television, that's the first thing that they think about, oh, good times. And then, like, you know, one of the things I think about good times is, you know, it really wasn't good times. And because, you know, when you're living in poverty, poverty don't discriminate. You know, it doesn't discriminate on race, it doesn't discriminate on religion. When a person is hungry, they hungry.
I'd say you're right. It doesn't discriminate.
Drug addiction don't discriminate. One, two, three, four, five, six. We're about 6 stories up. A lot of times when they block off areas like this, it's for a reason. They either hiding something, they don't want you to find something back there. A lot of times, like a lot of rogue drug dealers, they'll block stuff like this because they know that person ain't gonna move. They know that nasty, you know.
This is true. Nobody wants to find anything by surprise.
Mm-hmm. So old coat there.
Well, let's go see for his body back there.
Nah, I say we leave well enough alone.
Well, the city of Detroit, from my estimation, in my opinion, was an experiment. Experiment in labor relations. It was an experiment in race relations. Experiments in class relations with upper management, lower management, then your workers that work on the line. Also, it was an experiment in politics with the labor union. The other thing I think about too is a lot of people that I knew growing up in the city of Detroit, they always used to talk about getting a job at the Big Three. And then you would hear like a lot of the veteran workers talk about the good old days of how they used to get their checks. They would go out and do whatever they will with their checks. But then once that got cut off, you have the results of a lot of them don't know what to do because they became so dependent upon the auto industry. And I look at that from a spiritual angle. That was their God. That was their God. That almighty dollar working through the auto industry. And now you got like a new crop of workers that are coming in. You got that division. One movie I would tell everyone to check out is Blue Collar with Richard Pryor, Gavin Cotto, and Harvey Keitel. That movie is the example of the auto industry, of the class between management and the rank and file workers, the things that some of the workers were doing on their off time. Because you had a lot of them that were like family men. Because I had uncles, they would get their paycheck and you know just go have a good time on the weekend. Then the other thing is too, there's this thing about never buying a car on Monday and Friday. Y'all know about that? Yeah. The reason why was because on Fridays the workers would be paid, they would go out, get high, get drunk, and then on Monday they would come in hungover. And then too, there's a thing in the auto plant, and I think I should not be saying this. Working in the auto plant is a world within itself.
Yes, it is.
You got what they call plant wives and plant husbands, where people are married to other people on the outside, and they would have relationships with their co-workers on the inside.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, what he had said about the drug abuse and the alcoholism, sometimes I would come into the plant, you would see one of these veterans that have been around the plant for a really long time, and it just have a shape and work. And the supervisor knows, come over panel, going out, fix yourself up.
Yep.
They knew that they was going to go out and get drugs, drink, and those guys would come back in there singing, working, doing the job. I mean, it was known who was the addict. It was known who was the alcoholic.
Right.
It was known who
And
was.
when you have plants that come in and they know the workers are making a large wage, then here comes the influx of drugs. Because you got a lot of people making a lot of money, that's a big market for drugs.
Expandable income?
Yes, and then then here comes the casinos because they want to get your money that you're now making. Because back then you could walk in a plant without any education, with just barely a middle school education, and you can get a job that was going to carry you through your whole career.
Right.
And it didn't take anything to get that. So that's a big, huge market.
Right. I mean, when I was working at the plant, I came in with basically a 12th grade education. I mean, I graduated high school, but here I am looking at my bosses who are on a salary of maybe 40, 50 grand, 60 grand maybe a year, and here I am making $100,000 a year because I'm working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you got something like that that's taking place.
Right.
I mean, and these guys got college degrees, you know, and
Now, on the flip side of that, you had a lot of good, hard-working men and women that did the right thing.
And this is a view that people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for right now here in Detroit. Right now, they're moving from other parts of the country, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for this view. And this being a subsidized, at one point in time, a subsidized apartment, that means that these people were making a limited income or very minimum income, and to have this view of Detroit, a beautiful view. You can see the Renaissance. It just feels like I can see clear over into Canada from this view. Just an unbelievable, beautiful view. This is just...
It's poetic. That's why when I used to have my architectural desk in my design studio, I would put it in front of windows, just like this one. It's the way you get your most of your inspiration from. It's just like this poetry book. You can look out, no matter what's going through your mind, you know, you can see the beauty if you just stop and just, as they say, smell the flowers. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
What's over there? The stairway to the ceiling, the roof.
Oh, yeah?
Is it? Yeah. I want to go on the other side of the building.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, there's got to be a door. I think there's two stairways. They got to go all the way down, go on the other side of the building, and go up, get to the roof, or find a hole.
So you went to the roof?
No, I found this. You know, the stairway here ends.
Yes.
You go on the other side, it keeps going up, and you see the access like that.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the building. You gotta go through the hole.
You gotta get a roof outside.
I might get stuck in there.
So why?
Actually, I put it over that debris that was, on this side. Hold on, man. I'm gonna turn it the other way.
I think that's your best bet right there.
They won't scuff your knees up.
Just don't look down.
Okay. Good enough. One more through the hole.
Watch your back.
What?
So how did it feel going through that hole there?
I feel like, oh man.
There you go. Okay, now which way we going?
My phone.
You know your life's still in your pocket.
Oh.
Right.
Thanks.
Watch your head.
No, thanks.
Oh, okay, here we go. Well, you ready?
Go on up.
Well.
Guess you changed this to green now. It's orange all the way.
Thanks.
We have made it.
Actually, photography.
More asbestos.
He's our deal.
This is the pinnacle. The world is yours.
What's cool is the lake's a quarter mile that way, and downtown's right here. So it's kind of unique. And you know, this is really distinctly Cleveland. You know, right outside the city, this is all steel manufacturing. So you know, our neighbors, they cut steel. That's all they do. Cut and grind steel.
Wow.
So, and then we have there's steel stamping. There's more steel fabrication, custom fabrication. It's all a lot to do with steel all around here. There's hot forging, casting. So it's a great neighborhood to be in.
Yeah, everything's here.
Yeah. Well,
And now there's a motorcycle
yeah. Well, the cool thing is
manufacturer.
Whiskey Island is right at the end of the street. So you know, for lunch, if we want to go to the beach, and it's just a great environment to work in. You know, being so close to the lake, and it's pretty cool. And you can see all the new fancy condos over here.
I do see that, yeah.
So it's a pretty cool mix of, you know, this old industrial with, you know, all the cool kids that want to be in the city. You know, the other thing that attracted us to this building is we can go up another 3 or 4 levels if we have to. You know, these are all, underneath all these are piers. So this whole building is structural concrete and steel. So it was actually built to keep going up. And all these are, you know, they're protected areas, so we can add more steel piers if we wanted to keep building up.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were plans for this to actually be 6 stories here.
I hope you make it to 6 stories. That'd
be cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was going to be the gazebo, so we want to cut all this out and actually make that covered gazebo and then a porch kind of over here. Yeah, the idea is I work so much, I want this to be a really enjoyable place to work.
I'm pleasantly surprised at your outlook on this. Sounds like a great place to work, or you'd be a great person to work for an employee.
You gotta enjoy your job. It's kind of, I know it's work, but it should be enjoyable. There's another little area for a little patio deck right here too. You know, the weather here is good only a few months out of the year, so when it's nice, everyone wants to be outside. Yeah, we'll go back into the shop. So, well, actually, these are we did 2 land speed bikes. So these were our land speed racers, and this one we're gonna continue to try to get going faster. So this bike right here holds 2 records.
On the soft flats?
This is Ohio Mile, so
okay.
Yeah, we're gonna try to make it out to Bonneville this year. But this is both it holds gas and a fuel record. So for this is push rod gas, 250cc 4-stroke, and then we have push rod fuel.
Okay.
So that's holds one of the records, and this bike we're going to turbocharge. So this is going to be a forced induction. So this is going to be a power adder, because these bikes were competing in the same class. So instead of competing against each other, we're going to put them in 2 different classes.
Is that a protector for the case the chain were to go at those high speeds?
It's
the protector,
required, yeah.
It is required. Okay.
So, and it's a big, thick piece of steel.
Oh, it's steel. I thought maybe it was carbon fiber or something. It's steel, huh? Wow.
Yeah, so this bike holds 2 records now, and then hopefully we can go out to the salt flats and match, if not, exceed the current records that we've set for these.
Yeah, I only mention the salt flats because that's usually what I think of when I hear land speed records.
The nice thing is the Ohio Mile is a great area for testing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can test and tune it to Ohio Mile and kind of prepare for bottom quarters.
Great.
So we broke the records at Ohio Mile by 12 miles per hour. So I think we'll be able to at least match, if not, Bonneville is kind of a power robber, the salt in the atmosphere and everything. So,
Okay.
we're hoping we can at least match, if not bump the record out of Bonneville. So.
Wow.
And this is going to be our first, this is going to be our turbocharged. So it's going to be 1 power adder.
Is that something you're hoping to put into production eventually with this? No.
That's just something fun for us to play with. Yeah. So, forced induction is a little bit, you gotta be careful. So, this bike, our first time out, we broke two records, and then we're hoping to at least get close with our turbocharged bike. The whole idea here is let's see how far we can push these 250s, and if we're not pushing it, why should we expect our customers to, or why should we expect anyone else to really push it? So the idea is, they're great stock bikes, but how much performance can you really wring out of these bikes? And how far can you take a really simple overhead valve, 2-valve design? Where can it be pushed? Where's the limit? And we're close, but we haven't quite found the limit yet. And yeah, so this is the start, and some of the other bikes are kind of where we're going. So, I think the next few years, our customers and hopefully people that don't know us will see, not only the classic stuff, but the more modern bikes that we're starting to get into. Okay, so the idea behind how the company started is, I really like custom building bikes, and I was really looking at building some big V-twins with S&S motors, using some serious big V-twin components. I started looking at what it would take to do that, and I was getting up to like $14,000, $15,000 to build customs. And then I started looking into non-American bikes, and actually it's funny because the BSA is sitting right here. I started looking at what it would cost to build old British bikes, and it's considerably less. You can get a decent running Brit bike for anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000, and that was a lot more palatable to take a $1,500 bike and chop it up than to have a $14,000 new pile of parts. So I started looking at this, and I said, well, there's no options for anybody to seriously build a cool custom bike for a lot less than a Sucker Punch Sally, or using the S&S or the RevTech motors. And that's really what I was into, is that look, the bobbers, the choppers, the cafe bikes. And well, if I spend $15,000 on parts, another $1,500 on paint, it just $20,000 to really build a special custom chopper. It was driving me nuts, because I just kept going through, and it was just so much money. So I started looking at, how I could do this for less expensive, a lot less money. And I started looking at what the most expensive components were, and then we started talking to manufacturers, and the 250cc motor it made so much sense, because actually the performance of like one of these bikes you can cruise all day with guys on Sportsters, any cruiser. You know, these bikes will go, you know, modified, you get almost 100 miles per hour. Stock, they'll do 75 miles per hour. And if you're just looking to cruise around, have fun, and have a really cool, enjoyable bike, it works for you. And, you know, the great thing about a single cylinder 250 is they're super torquey.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're fun bikes. I mean, you can still do wheelies. You know, you can toss them around, and you can have a lot of fun with them. So once I really started getting into the single cylinder motors, you know, the BSA, starting to work with BSAs was really my first experience with single cylinders. You know, I was always into V-twins and super into Ducatis, and you know, once I got onto a single cylinder and I realized how much torque they had, then I started messing with, you know, 250, just 4 strokes and 125cc singles. It was like, wow, this was something.